Okay, and we're back, everybody. So today, I guess really quickly, I'll go off by saying the reason that I haven't been uploading in the past few weeks is because I've been very busy. Some time has cleared up, so I'm going to continue onwards with the series that we've had going on the channel, being the OU Fall Seasonal coverage, the Sub Sundays, and the Road to Top 10 Ubers. So we'll probably get all three of those in the next few days, obviously Sub Sunday on Sunday, and then Road to Top 10 Ubers either tomorrow or Saturday, and this, of course, being today. So, this is the OU Fall Seasonal that I'm in. I'm in Winners Round 2 currently. If you don't know what the OU Fall Seasonal is, it's a double elimination best of 3 SSOU tournament. So basically, you play a best of 3 in SSOU. If you win, you move on to the next round in the winners bracket. If you lose, you move to the loser bracket. And then if you lose again within the losers bracket, then you're out of the tournament. It's just very standard double elimination stuff. If you really want to know more about it, I suggest you can Google it if you want, really. But that's just my little quick analysis, I guess, of what a best of 3 double elimination is. I guess, yeah, you can just look at this thread if you really want to, like, go in depth on what the OU Fall Seasonal is, of course. But anyway, obviously, I won round 1, so this is going to be round 2 coverage, and yeah, I guess we can just get right into it. So, in round 2, I got matched up with Boat. And versus Boat, I brought the exact same team one that I did in round 1. This team is just pretty solid overall, and it's a good gauge of how my opponent plays. So even if I lose this, I get some information on how my opponent plays. It has like enough breakers to force them to play defensively, but also the defensive backbone to see how offensive they're willing to play. So we'll see how it goes. So I lead Toxapex as he leads Urshifu. I get a free knockoff on the Clefable. Getting rid of its leftovers is huge. Now I know that this likely is not Trick either, which is pretty nice. I don't have to worry about choice scarfs or anything. Here I just keep spamming some knockoffs, and then I eventually go for Scald, look for a burn. Even though it won't affect the Clefable due to Magic Guard, I will eventually allow my Dragapult to get more damage off with Hex. So if I burn the Clefable, that'd be great. Unfortunately, we don't get it. But here I click Scald one more time, looking for the burn on Clefable, but luckily, instead he gives me the burn on Toxapex, which is very nice. I believe I just stay and I click Knockoff, because once I get rid of this thing's passive recovery in Black Sludge, he'll actually be taking damage due to burn, and then my Clefable, because it's Calm Mind Thunderbolt, will actually be able to beat this 1v1. So, yeah. He clicks Knockoff on the incoming Hippowdon. I just take this opportunity to get a Brock, so I thought he'd be scared out, but he makes a good play, and he just clicks Toxic. Interesting choice, though. If I just clicked Earthquake, it could have maybe killed him with the Sandpulse burn, but it's fine. I just go hard into Clefable here. I do want to see if this is Iron Head, so I just stay in. And Calm Mind, I probably should have just soft-bowled up to see if I was faster. If I was slower, of course, then I would have gone back to full HP, but he U-turns there as I soft-bowled up. And here is a huge turn. This is a misplay on my end. Now, why is it a misplay, you ask? Well, you'll see. So, this Rhyperior, unfortunately, has access to Heavy Slam. And as you saw from the Stone Edge damage, it's actually Choice Banded. So, what Choice Banded damage means to a Clefable is that if it clicked Heavy Slam, I would have died and my win con for this game would be done. It's just over. So, unfortunately for him, he decides to click Stone Edge, expecting me to be a good player and switch out into something that wouldn't die to Heavy Slam, maybe Hippowdon. But then in that case, Earthquake would have made more sense, but I guess it covered Corviknight as well. So, it's an okay play. But I definitely made a bad play here by staying in. And luckily it worked out for me because I got to kill this with a Moonblast. Crit I don't think mattered. I was +1 in Life Orb, so it's very unlikely. And it was offensive, of course, so I don't think it was defensive at all either. So I'm pretty sure the crit did not matter. But yeah, it definitely helped out there. It made sure it went down and I got no punishment for the bad play I made. Of course, the Stone Edge crit would have also been a pretty big punish. I think, yeah, I would have died to Stone Edge crit as well. So I got pretty lucky there. Yeah. Of him making the right play, but me misplaying into it and getting the win off of that, of course. And yeah, I guess we can resume from here. But he goes Dragapult here. He obviously forces me out because I'm afraid of literally anything he wants to click. He removes to Choice Specs Shadow Ball. I believe I just stand and click the knockoff here or recover up. Yeah, I just recover up. And then he Shadow Balls again, and eventually I do have to knock this off. Yeah, there it goes. So now my Corviknight is actually able to switch into Spec Shadow Ball into a Fire Blast, I believe. He just clicks Draco Meteor though, expecting maybe my Hippowdon or something, but yeah, I don't really know. I just go into Corviknight, and this is a free roost because he clicked Draco Meteor. And now I think I can actually just defog here, or I can just U-turn. Yeah, I just U-turn as he defogs for me, which is great. I go into Dragapult, and here I can click Will-O-Wisp, or I can click U-turn expecting one of the Pecs or the Clefable to come out. He makes the odd play of actually not actually like, so I guess I can pause and talk about what happened there. So if he let that get Will-O-Wisp, I think I just won on the spot because I can just spam hexes now. This Toxapex is already burnt, and if I get the burn on Clefable anytime, I can just spam hexes literally all day long versus this Corviknight, and I win the game. But instead, of course, I click U-turn expecting him to want to go into Clefable or the Toxapex just to try and pivot into my Clefable to get my HP back up. So, he clicks Thunderbolt here, and as you see, it only does 50%. Unfortunately, he also has the Fire Blast, which is slightly more than the Thunderbolt, so I do have to lose my Corviknight there, which isn't ideal. I go Hippowdon here to get up my rocks as he goes Corviknight, and yeah, he can just defog away freely, but that lets me bring my Dragapult. And now I can click Will-O-Wisp or I can click U-turn. He goes Toxapex, I click Will-O-Wisp. He makes some good plays around my Dragapult to make sure that he doesn't lose. If I clicked Hex there, then he would have probably been in a very bad position, but instead he goes to Toxapex. I just click U-turn there. Now I can finally bring my Clefable. Losing my Life Orb is not that big of a deal. I just click Soft Boiled up. He goes Dragapult there, which is interesting, but he actually just pivots into his Corviknight to PP stall 2 of my Moonblast because of pressure, and yeah. He's making the right plays to try and win around the Clefable, especially after not clicking Heavy Slam with the Rhyperior. If he clicked Heavy Slam and I stayed in, I definitely just lost the game with my Clefable gone. But luckily, I have my Clefable still alive. He goes into Corviknight, U-turns out. I expected the what's it called, the Iron Head, but it didn't work out. I missed my Will-O-Wisp. That's actually pretty big because now I cannot freely Hex on the Corviknight, because otherwise I could just click Hex. It covers both the Toxapex play and it covers the Clefable play because I do like around 50% to both, and then he doesn't really have a switch in. But yeah, a couple of miscellaneous turns happen where nothing really happens. I just click Scalds a bunch of times. He clicks Wish and then he Soft Bowls up. He clicks Moonblast on that turn as I click Scald. I go Hard Hippo here finally, just to try and force some progress. And now I can click Slack Off here. Or I can click Rocks. I think I just clicked Slack Off though. Oh, I clicked Rocks first. Okay, yeah, either play worked. The order doesn't really make a difference. I click Slack Off here, obviously, though. And I think I click Slack Off one more time, just before the Toxic starts doing too much damage. And luckily for me, he switches out, so I end up at like around 50%, I think. Or like 60? Yeah, I end up at like 60%, which is pretty nice. I go Dragapult on the Corviknight's defog, and I get to do this again. Here is where the miss on the Clefable actually kind of mattered, because I get the Hex off on Toxapex, and as you see here, it actually dies to the next one if he decides to stay in. Yeah, exactly. So he does stay in. What would have been nicer, though, is I would have prevented the Clefable switch in earlier on, but luckily I have the burn because of the Toxapex Scald, so it worked out in the end for me. But yeah, now this is looking like a win for me. I just have to not choke versus the Urshifu. I basically sacked my Hippowdon. Luckily, I live on 1%, so that it doesn't really change the game, but it helps him get up rocks because he tries to misplay. Or sorry, not rocks. I think I just Toxic this, or do I get up rocks? I don't actually remember. I Toxic this. Okay, so yeah, I Toxic the Dragapult. Either one would have worked. Again, I was just trying to sack my Hippowdon there, but luckily for me, he decides to just spam some Thunderbolts, and finally, I'm like, okay, dude, he's gonna click Draco Meteor now, and I go hard to Toxapex, take the Draco Meteor, recover up, go hard into Hippo one more time. He gets up his rocks, and now I'm actually able to slack off again, I believe. Is that what happens? Yep, I just slack off again, and I think I slack off one more time here, as he Moonblasts. Yep, slack off again. And now my Hippowdon's still alive because of his misplays with the Dragapult. I don't know why he was Thunderbolting all that time. I guess he was playing off a choke, but yeah, this is looking like a pretty big end for my opponent here. I just go Clefable on the Dragapult switch in, which is great for me. I can just Moonblast here, or I can Soft Boiled up. Either one really works. I just Soft Boiled up here. And now, I go hard Toxapex, of course, no reason to risk anything, he just Iron Heads. I eventually win this game, we can just go Hyper Fast here. Nothing really interesting happens, I don't think. He goes into Clefable there, and yeah, that's fine, but I just go into my own Clefable. I Thunderbolt here. Eventually I'm going to get the pair on Corviknight. Once I do, I literally just win the game with my Dragapult, so I'm just going to keep having this series of plays happen until I eventually get the pair, I believe. So yeah, I click Knockoff there, and he clicks Moonblast, which is fine. He clicked, or sorry, I clicked Scald. Yeah, this is not looking good for him. I have too many defensive options to switch into everything that he has, and then I still have my Breaker in Urshifu and my Dragapult still alive. Basically, they're both at 100% actually, so again, I click Thunderbolt here. Do I get the para? Not yet. It'll happen eventually. We're just gonna have to keep waiting. He clicks U-turn on my Pex. Not that big of a deal. His Dragapult is taking passive damage. I think I just click Knockoff or Recover. I do just Recover up first. Yep, that's fine. He clicks Thunderbolt one more time. I click Knockoff here. Now he's actually going to take quite a bit. If he stays in, he will die to my Sand plus the Toxic, but he makes the good play, of course. He goes into Clefable on my Hippowdon. I believe I just Stealth Rock up, or sorry, Slack Off first. And I might just Slack Off again. Yep, I do just Slack Off one more time. And now I think I just go hard into Toxapex. Or, oh wow, I made the right play. I clicked Stealth Rocks. This has been a while since this game happened, but yeah. I get my rocks up, which is huge. Because that allows me to bring in my Dragapult here on the Corviknight eventually. Because he's forced to defog, which means I can get my Pex to get my regen off. And now I click Scald, and yeah. I'm eventually going to force in that Corviknight again, which will let me bring in my Dragapult. So I Calm Mind here, and I believe I just clicked Thunderbolt the first time. No, I go hard Dragapult expecting the Iron Head, as that is exactly what happens. So here, I think I just click Hex. Yeah, he makes a good play, he goes Urshifu, which is of course correct. If I clicked Will-O-Wisp there, he would have lost on the spot, but again, he's making some really good plays to try and keep back in the game. I go Urshifu expecting the Wicked Blow, and then I click Close Combat here on the Clefable, doing a good amount of damage, of course. He makes the double into Corviknight on the Poison Jab, which is very good on his end, but it's not going to really save him. I just go Toxapex. He clicks Iron Head, and yeah, I'm going to win this game one way or another. Eventually, I will. He clicks U-turn on my Dragapult, so this was a weird play on my end. I'm not really sure why I went hard Dragapult there. Maybe expecting another Iron Head, but either way, I go Clefable. On the Urshifu was a good blow. I click Softballed up to max HP. He goes Corviknight. I think I just Thunderbolt. Yep, and do I get the para here finally? Nope, still no para. So this is taking a while, as you see. But yeah, that's the nature of SSOU right now. It's just kind of fat and kind of stally, and it's just going to be a long game for most of the time anyway, unless we're both bringing like offense. But obviously I brought balance and he brought balance, so it's going to take a while. Anyway, he clicks U-turn on my Toxapex as he goes Clefable. And yeah, I get a crit there, which is kind of nice. I guess it forces the softballs a little faster, but yeah, I click Moonblast as he goes Corviknight. And yeah, I go into Toxapex as he goes into, well, as he clicks U-turn and goes into Clefable. I go hard Clefable one more time. Do I click Thunderbolt here? Oh, I click Calm Mind first. Yep, that's the correct play, I think. I go hard Toxapex to waste another Iron Head. And as you can see here, it's actually getting kind of low on Iron Head. It's low, meaning 16. But if this continues up, he will eventually lose his HP, or sorry, his PP on the Iron Heads. He goes Dragapult to my Calm Mind. Now here I believe I just Thunderbolt, or yeah, I Thunderbolt expecting the Corviknight to come in. Still no para yet, but again, if it's gonna keep going like this over and over again, it will happen eventually. I waste another PP on Iron Head by going Toxapex, of course. I get the knockoff off. Finally, his leftovers are gone, which is huge. He clicks U-turn, brings in Clefable. I click knockoff again. Not that big of a deal. I go Clefable here. He softballs up. I think I just Calm Mind. Or do I Thunderbolt immediately? I do Thunderbolt immediately. And finally I get the paralysis. And now it's over. Because he cannot actually 1v1 my Clefable because I'm faster. Because there's no risk of him flinching me down. I Calm Mind up first. He goes Corviknight. I believe I just Moonblast. Yep, I do just Moonblast. And now I win the game. I just click Thunderbolt here. Doing 44%. He will get parried eventually. So I'm going to softballed up here. And he just forfeits there. So, as you saw in this game, he won if he clicked Heavy Slam with the Rhyperior. Honestly, I can't tell if I was the bigger misplay by staying in or if he was the bigger misplay by not just clicking Heavy Slam, because it's not very common to see a Choice Banded Rhyperior on this type of build. I thought it was just a Hippowdon replacement, so I thought it'd be like defensive rocks, but oh boy was I wrong. It was Choice Banded, and it clicked Stone Edge, and my Clefable lived, and that, of course, as you see here, was his end in the eventual end game. So yeah, I guess we'll go on to game 2. And I bring Stall, he brings some really cool, what is this thing called? I don't even know, what is this thing called? Indeedee, like, expanding Force Alakazam stuff. Oh man, this was a very cool bring on his end. I'm like, holy crap, this guy's really, like, pulling out all the techs. I guess he has to. He's in game 2, he must win or else the series is over and I move on to winners round 3 and he goes on to losers round 2, I believe. So, here, I go into my Jirachi because it's a fairly free lead. I click Iron Head just to see what anything happens. He has Tangrowth, reveals to be Rocky Helmet. I go into Toxapex. He knocks off my Black Sludge, which is fine. He clicks Sleep Powder, which is cool, I guess. But I'm just going to try and wake up. Unfortunately, it's something you'll see in this game is that I get max turns of sleep like every time. He's tricked Clefable, which is pretty annoying, but luckily he tricked it onto my Toxapex instead of anything else, which is pretty nice. He gets up rocks here, but now I know that because he's tricked everything away, I can actually just defog with my Corviknight on the Clefable every time, basically. He goes Tangrowth and I slack my Toxapex to sleep. I go Blissey on the Indeedee and he's tricked again, but luckily for me he's not Trick Choice Scarf, he's just Ring Target, which is again a very cool tech. I go hard Corviknight on the Clefable, of course. Now I roost up, which is cool. He U-turns out for my Toxapex, he brings in his Clefable, I go Corviknight. Again, I'm just going to try and defog away these rocks, I don't want them up. But he understands how pressure works, so he knows that even though I have pressure on his rocks, he has pressure on my defog, so he will have more rocks if he continues to switch in his Clefable, or sorry, his Corviknight on my Corviknight when I click defog. Kind of complicated, but it is what it is. More useless turns happen. He clicks Moonblast on my Blissey. I Toxic the Clefable, which does nothing for me, but it's cool, I guess. I softballed up on the Corviknight. I'm obviously forced to switch here. I don't want to take a body press. I go hard into Corviknight, I go hard into Toxapex on the Corviknight. He clicks U-turn, brings in Alakazam, and this is finally where something happens. I go Jirachi on the Alakazam. Now I can click Fire Punch, look for a burn on the Tangrowth. It's 20% with the Serene Grace, of course. No burn yet, but hopefully it'll happen eventually. I go Toxapex one more time. And we're max turns of sleep, so we can just click Knockoff here. Get rid of his nothing, which is cool, I guess. He clicks Moonblast, I click Knockoff. He clicks Moonblast, I click Knockoff. Yeah, this is a very entertaining game, as you see here. Nothing really happens. I go Clefable here, and here, again, I want to see if he's Iron Head, and I want to know if he's faster than me. So it reveals that I'm faster than him, and he's not afraid to stand on my Clefable to U-turn. So this is big, because next time that sequence of turns happens, I can trick the Corviknight, my Sticky Barb. And if that happens, I should just be winning the game eventually. It'll take a long time, but I should be winning the game. Here is the Encore Alakazam. Again, very cool team on my opponent's end. He brought out a very interesting choice that probably could win eventually, but you'll see what happens here. He clicks Earthquake, and I click Knockoff. Get rid of this thing's Rocky Helmet, which is nice. He puts me to sleep, which is fine. I have Regenerator, so I'm not afraid of taking Earthquake. So go Hard Clefable on the Indeedee. I have to go Blissey, of course. I don't want to take Expanding Force with my Clefable. I take 2 Expanding Forces as he clicks it twice, I guess, and I softballed up. I Seismic Toss on the Alakazam, and now he's forced to switch out. Well, quote-unquote forced, because he has Encore, but if he Encores me into the Seismic Toss, he will just die, so yeah, it is what it is. He clicks Defog as I bring my Toxapex for regen. I go Hard Clefable one more time. He gets an Indeedee, of course, which is fine. He goes Clefable as I go Blissey. I go into my own Corviknight. Again, I want to defog away these rocks as much as possible. I defog away those rocks, and I don't want to get Encored into that, so I go Hard Jirachi again. Yep, which is fine. He goes Tangrowth, and now here's what happens. I get up my rocks, expecting him to switch out, of course, and that is exactly what happens. And now Corviknight has basically 3 options here. He revealed that he's not afraid of switching out, so, he revealed that he's not afraid of Trick, so he's not going to switch out, which is great for me. So that's one option just gone. The other option is to defog away these rocks, which is a very viable option for him. He doesn't have rocks up yet, and he has rocks up on his side. So defogging them away makes a lot of sense. The other is U-turning. However, I'm faster than him, so in all 3 of the scenarios minus the switch, because I don't think he'll switch here, I can just freely trick this Corviknight, my Sticky Barb, and I should win the game eventually, and that's exactly what happens. I trick it my Sticky Barb as he gets rid of the rocks as he defogs, but now he's taking a lot of damage. I can just Stealth Rock up, dude. It's very free here. He goes Alakazam, and he makes a good play by Nasty Potting, expecting me to go Jirachi on the Encore, and he just kills my Jirachi with Focus Blast. I'm like, holy crap, that did, like, way too much damage, dude. I did not expect that to kill. I trace it with my Ditto and try to revenge it, but he just goes Blissey, taking no damage from Expanding Force at all, so now this isn't looking too great for me anymore, is it? I'm not actually in a winning position anymore. Losing my Jirachi is pretty big. I did not expect the Focus Blast to just kill my Jirachi at +2. I guess he's Life Orb and he might be even Modest because that did so much damage. I was at basically full health, so regardless, more non-useful turns happen. I guess I just try to PP stall this thing's roosts a little bit by clicking Seismic Toss a couple times. I know he's not body press, so that's pretty nice for me. He's down to 14 roosts, but I'm getting low on Seismic Tosses as well, so it's not super winning, but it's something. Yeah, I just spam some Seismic Tosses. I'm down to 19 Seismic Tosses, but he's down to 12 roosts now, which is pretty nice. Keep spamming some Seismic Tosses. He defogs away the rocks, which is fine. I think I Seismic Toss one more time. No, I go Hard Clefable just to get my rocks up again. Again, there's no reason not to get up rocks against this thing. If he wants to stay in, he'll be taking more damage, which will force him to roost quicker, and then if you roosts quicker, he'll run out of PP on roost quicker, and then he will eventually die quicker. So yeah, it's a kind of complicated, not that complicated, it's fairly logical, but yeah. He Nasty Pots up as a Seismic Toss, so he can't kill me, so he switches out, which is great. The Blissey comes in, I teleport out into my Ditto, which is his Blissey, I see what he has, and I go hard to Corviknight, knowing that he's not Thunder Wave or anything. Yeah, he goes into his Corviknight. By the way, I can never click an attack with my Corviknight because I have no item, and all of my attacks on Corviknight are contact attacks. So if I contact his Corviknight, then I might just lose the game, which could be pretty bad. Anyway, some more useless turns happens. He Seismic Tosses, I Soft Boiled, he Soft Boils, I might click an attack, yeah, click Moonblast. I think he just Seismic Tosses or teleports out again, yeah. This is a very long game, boys. You'll be in for a long one here. More useless turns where I switch between Blissey and my Toxapex. I believe I just Toxic this, try and force it out eventually. Now I can Soft Boiled up. He teleports out into Alakazam. I don't want to get Encored, of course, so I go into Ditto. If he attacks me, that's fine. I can heal it up later on, but just by tracing his Tangrowth and switching out, because I'd have his Regenerator, or by copying his Blissey and just spamming some Seismic Tosses. He goes to Corviknight. He takes a lot of damage from Rocks and the Sticky Barb. I click more Seismic Tosses, just trying to PP stall his Roosts again. He's down to 10 now. He's down to 9 now, but I'm down to 11 Seismic Tosses, which is quite low in the grand scheme of things. He Roosts again, but he's taking a lot of damage. I go hard Toxapex here. I want to burn some turns of sleep. I want to be able to wake up eventually and try to kill the Alakazam on the turn that it might want to come in on the Toxapex. He just defogs there. He clicks U-turn, and if I wake up here, I win the game because I click Knockoff. Unfortunately for me, it does not happen, and yeah, he Expanding Force crits me, but he doesn't get another one, which is pretty nice. I Soft-Boiled up. I'm also getting low on Soft Boils at this point. I'm at 10 now, which is not ideal, of course. I Soft-Boiled up, and I believe I just teleport or Toxic. I teleport out. Yep, try to get up my Rocks here. Yep, exactly what happens. He Seismic Tosses, wasting Seismic Tosses on his end, which is nice for me. I Moonblast there, as he Seismic Tosses again. Soft-Boiled up to max HP, he Seismic Tosses, and yeah, this happens for a while again. Where I swap between my Toxapex and my Clefable, of course. I wake up there, and I click Scald. And here, something interesting happens, I believe. I go hard into Corviknight as he sets up his Rocks, and now I just go hard Toxapex, but he Soft Boils up, which is pretty cool, but he Moonblasts first. As I believe I just spam some Scalds, try to waste some of his Soft Boils eventually, and I keep spamming Scalds. I get the burn on Blissey, which is nice. I go hard Clefable. He goes Indeedee. Yeah, this is gonna take a while. I go Blissey here as he Expanding Forces. Yeah, I'm down to... he gets a crit there. I'm down to 8 Soft Boils now, I believe. Yep, 8 Soft Boils. He Expanding Forces. I'm forced, of course, to Soft Boiled again. He goes Blissey as a Seismic Toss, which is nice. I Toxic the Blissey, which is, again, pretty nice, because now I can teleport pretty freely here. He teleports first. He goes into Indeedee, but now I'm able to go into Ditto, and almost force a kill. If I click Trick here, expecting the Blissey, I could win the game, but I'm too scared. If he stays in and Expanding Forces, then I could have lost the game, so I just Expanding Force to myself. He Soft Boils up. I defog over the Rocks with my Corviknight. I click Roost. And yeah, he clicks Rocks, but I can just defog them away again. He goes Corviknight, of course, but yeah. He's taking more and more damage from the Sticky Barb. As I go Corviknight on the expected Rocks again. He does that exactly. Now I click defog again, I believe. Yep, exactly what happens. I go Clefable as he Roosts up. And yeah, this is taking a while, isn't it? Huh. Jeez, okay, so he goes into Indeedee as I get him Rocks. Here I want to gauge damage, so I click Moonblast, and finally we get some progress. Indeedee's down to a very small amount of HP now. Any attack from anything in it, and he will actually just drop, so that's nice. I teleport from my Blissey into my Clefable on his Blissey. I Soft Boiled up to max HP, or near max HP rather. And yeah, I go hard Toxapex here as he Seismic Tosses. He goes Clefable, I just spam some Scalds. I go hard Corviknight on the expected Stealth Rocks, as he does just make the Stealth Rock play. I click Defog there. He Stealth Rocks again, but I'm okay with just keep spamming some Defogs because he's running out of his Stealth Rock PP because he's on pressure and I'm not yet. So, yeah. I go hard Clefable as he goes into his own Clefable. I go Corviknight one more time. If he wants to set up Rocks, that's fine. I can just defog again. But here, I thought he might want to go hard to his Corviknight, expecting my defog, so I double into my Clefable, but he just clicked Rocks again. He's down to 10 Stealth Rocks. I'm at 11 defogs, so in theory, if I don't misplay, I will be able to get rid of all Stealth Rocks on my side versus his his Clefable Stealth Rock. So I go Corviknight here, and I can just defog away pretty freely here. He clicks Moonblast, which is fine. I believe I just defog. Yep, I click defog there, which is nice. I roost up as he goes Clefable. I roost again, just to see if he wants to click Stealth Rocks. I don't really need roosts on my Corviknight. That's the most expendable PP, other than an attacking move, which again, I never want to click because I don't want to steal the Sticky Barb back from his Corviknight. So anyway, more useless turns happen, and I go into Corviknight on the Tangrowth. I sack my Toxapex again to sleep, which is fine. I go Corviknight again on the Expector Earthquake. PP stalls some Earthquakes. I go hard Toxapex again. He goes Corviknight. I go hard Clefable. He goes Indeedee, and he's obviously forced out here. He cannot take the Moonblast, but I'm just going to be safe and click Moonblast anyway. And I believe I just get my rocks here. Yep. Pretty nice. He goes into Clefable to probably get up his own rocks. No, he just doubles into Blissey, which is pretty nice, but yeah. Now it's starting to speed up, as you see, because we're just switching a bunch of times until he clicks a move eventually, which is, of course, the Stealth Rocks. We're on turn 160 now, and yeah, this is looking like about the halfway point of the game so far. But yeah, more useless turns happen where he just Moonblast and stuff. Nothing really interesting happens for a while. I go hard Corviknight. I believe I just want to defog away these rocks, but at first I want to go hard Blissey in case he goes into Corviknight. Exactly what happens, of course. I'm down to 7 Seismic Tosses, but I'm okay with clicking them a couple more times just because he's so low on roosts. He's down to 5 roosts now, which is pretty big. And I go hard Corviknight here, as I believe he just roosts again. Yep, that's fine. And I can just defog here. If he wants to stay in, that's fine, but I want to get rid of these rocks eventually. Luckily for me, I roost first, and he U-turns out, which is, again, pretty nice. He goes Blissey, and I believe I just defog. And he doesn't make the play into Corviknight, so I didn't waste 2 PP on the defog, which is nice. I roost up. Again, the most expendable PP on this Pokemon is actually roost, aside from an attack, so that's fine. I go Clefable, he goes Clefable, I go Corviknight, he goes Corviknight, and yeah, this happens for a while. Luckily for me, I'm the one forcing progress because he's taking damage because of the Sticky Barb, and I'm not, so more useless turns where I get a Brox and he teleports onto his Clefable, and finally something interesting happens. He tricks the Choice Scarf back onto his Clefable, and now I'm going to misplay. The correct play on my end here is, of course, just to keep spamming some Scalds and hope he tricks back eventually, but nope, I'm bad, and well, at first, of course, I do just click Scald. He clicks Moonblast, I click Scald, and I'm making the right play for now. For now, anyway. He goes into Tangrowth. If I get the burn here, I'm really winning, but unfortunately I don't. He Sleep Powders, which is fine. He goes back into Blissey, and now I can actually just spam some knockoffs pretty freely. Well, not that freely, of course, because if he goes Corviknight, because he might want to transfer the Sticky Barb over to me because I no longer have an item. So, by tricking, he actually prevents me from clicking knockoff, so that's pretty big. Anyway, I go Blissey on the Indeedee, of course, which is the correct play. I click Seismic Toss, and here is where I make the misplay. I go into Ditto, as he clicks Trick. Now, he's forced to switch out because he will die if I win the speed tie, but that's a misplay, because if I didn't win the speed tie and he decided to stay in, he could softball it up, and he would be at a good amount of HP, and he would be able to threaten me with Trick over and over and over again. So that was a bad play, but luckily it worked out, as I'm able to bring in my Blissey after a whole bunch of other useless turns to softball it up. He clicks Toxic as I teleport out. I bring my Corviknight, of course. I go hard Toxapex, not wanting to transfer anything over to the Corviknight, and there he goes. He pressures me with the Trick. I go into Clefable because I'm bad. I should have just stayed in with my Toxapex, and again, hope that he would eventually trick me the Choice Scarf back so that I can just keep spamming some Scalds, but instead I go into Clefable as he tricks me his Choice Scarf. And this isn't looking too good anymore, because now I have to get rid of my Choice Scarf, and if he goes into his Corviknight as I trick Choice Scarf, I might lose the game, because he won't be taking damage anymore. So I go Clefable here, and he makes the right plays. I trick immediately, and now he lost his Sticky Barb. He has a Choice Scarf, which isn't that much better, but I don't force as much progress as I would if I had the Sticky Barb on the Corviknight. I keep spamming Moonblast as he stays in and he softballs up, but yeah, this is not looking ideal for me anymore. He goes Blissey. I click Moonblast, which is fine. I click Moonblast again, as he stayed in, which is pretty crazy, but yeah, it is what it is. He decided to go into Corviknight, which is pretty insane, because he's forced to roost on that turn. If he doesn't roost there, he will die the next time he comes into 2 attacks, so I'm not entirely sure about that play, but yeah, he roosts as I just trick it back the item. And now I have the choice scarf, of course, but he has the sticky barb, and I'm in a winning position one more time. Finally, after all these long years, I'm finally in a winning position again. So I spam some more skulls. He goes to the Clefable. I spam some more skulls, of course. He clicks Corviknight. I think I just spam some more skulls. If I get the burn, I absolutely win this game. Still no burn, unfortunate, but it is what it is. He gives me another chance. I Scald there. No burn. He's forced to Roost, which means I get one more chance. Come on, burn, and I win the game. And there it is. There's the burn. Now he's actually going to be out of Roost very quickly because of the Sticky Barb and the burn damage and the Stealth Rocks damage on the following turns. Because I will just get on my Stealth Rocks here very freely. Yeah, he U-turns out, but next time he comes in, he'll be forced to Roost, and then he's out of Roosts, and I win the game. He understands that, and he just clicks X there. He really has no way of winning once his Corviknight goes down, because what that means is that not only will I be able to pressure his Stealth Rocks and defog them away, because I have 8 defogs and he has 8 Stealth Rocks, so I will be able to freely get rid of all his Stealth Rocks. Once his Corviknight goes down, I still have 17 Stealth Rocks, and he won't have defog anymore, so I'll actually just be able to get on my rocks for free, and he will be taking passive damage on his Tangrowth and his Indeedee and his Blissey once I'm freely able to click knock off again. So yeah, this just was not going to be going in his favor once he got burned and once he ran out of Roost. So that is what it is. I take home the win there. It looked like I had another game loaded up, but it was just the same as this. I wanted to prevent some spoilers in case you thought it ended in 2 games. But luckily for me, it did end in 2 games. I won. And yeah, that's it. I move on to winners round 3 in the OU Fall Seasonal. And yeah, I guess that's it. Hope this was enjoyable. I know it's very long, but again, this is just the state of SSOU right now. If you both bring balance or one person brings stall and the other person doesn't bring anti-stall, it's just going to take like 200 turns. So it is what it is. Again, hope this was enjoyable. Thanks for watching. Bye.